You know, there's the mission of the Acton Institute is really all about what the fundamental points that Wayne was making. And one of the points that we make that is often misunderstood in the church is that the root of the word economics is actually a biblical word, oikonomia. And oikonomia has a strong connotation, means stewardship, basically. So the point that we make quite often in our various seminars is that economics and stewardship really emerge from the same biblical and sort of conceptual basis. And this is an important thing. This is a point that's often overlooked in the church. And there's a lot of talk about stewardship, and stewardship is often just sort of reduced to financial management, and there's a lot of good that comes out of that. But the biblical picture of stewardship is actually a much richer perspective. It's a much broader perspective. There was some mention that Wayne made early in his talk about the stewardship of time and how, or maybe it was Greg that made the point about the stewardship of time and how this would yield rich investment, a return of your time this weekend. There's also stewardship of family, and Wayne mentioned in his talk one of the abuses of thinking about productivity and work. The sin distortion is the distortion into workaholism. Well, there's a strong tendency in the Christian community when you're talking about ministry to have sin, that sin problem, distort into workaholism. A really properly balanced and grounded understanding of stewardship from this oikonomia perspective is one that actually shows a number of things that need to be balanced out. So family is an important area of our stewardship. We're all called as believers to be stewards of the mysteries of God, and particularly as theological educators and religious professionals, I guess you could say, in the broad sense of the term. We're called to be accountable to that as well. But I guess the thing that I find most important about Wayne's talk is that when the church begins to understand stewardship and work and productivity and the connection to economics in a much broader and richer sense, I think there's a deep tendency for pastors in particular to feel threatened by this. Because how, after all, do you minister to people that are in the workplace, in the marketplace, doing these things that you don't necessarily really understand in terms of the fundamental work that's being done? And maybe there's some deep suspicion of business that needs to be overcome in the process. And so one of the things that I think is very beneficial about the gathering this weekend is for theological educators and pastors who make up a large section of this room and the student base of Talbot Seminary and Biola University, to be able to get a better handle on what it means to be rooted and grounded within your congregation and how to minister in that respect as well. So these are just some off-the-cuff remarks.